Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of the Data Story Show. Alex, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again, Alex.
Pleasure being back to Valencia and to Las Naves. We're upgrading the settings, as you see. Now we're getting more and more comfortable. Maybe next time we can bring some beers or something.
It's not a bad idea.
So, once again, thank you everyone for following the show. And for this episode, we're gonna talk about we're gonna take a review of what's been happening in the content marketing space, and specifically what kind of differences or what kind of trends we've seen in 2015 and what's gonna happen in 2016. Okay, so guys, whenever you're ready, let's kick it.
Okay, let's go. So we're starting with some questions, Alex. How you see the last year the market, the content market is a trending topic at this moment, because if you search in Google Trends what is the growth of content marketing, a lot of people are searching around the world content and information about how to generate best content marketing, etc. So what is your feeling about the last year in the content market?
It's a good question. I think 2015 has been a massive change but let's say it's been a tipping point for the content marketing space. Before that, it was called social media. Before that, it was called marketing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have a new name for it. But it's true that 2015 has been massive in terms of the changes we've seen. I would actually say that there's been like 3 or 4 major trends really happening in 2015. I think probably one of the most important ones, and you probably agree with me, is that video has become massive.
Yes.
Video has become one of the most, if not the most important channel for channeling your content, your brand, your stories to the larger audience. And specifically, this is becoming more and more important for the millennials and for probably people much younger than we are.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not saying how old are we.
No, but we are young in the top of the young generation. So yes, but the content, for example, in video is growing a lot. Out of new platforms is working or growing bigger in this year. For example, Snapchat is trending in United States. Yeah. Some companies is starting to use in Spain or in Europe. But for example, YouTube is having a lot of problems with the multidirectional. Okay, if the YouTuber generate a lot of content, publish the content, and receive 100 of comments, finally this YouTuber have a lot of problems, because don't have enough time for review the content, don't have the utility for engage with the audience and replay everything. And at this moment, a lot of companies or brands is generating a lot of video content, but it's a lot of difficult to measure the interactions, the engage. Not only to measure, it's more about what you can do with all this information, with all this feedback that people is providing you. And the worst problem, a lot of people is waiting your like, your reply, if he is commenting your videos,
yeah,
for example.
Definitely, it's becoming increasingly difficult, and there's like this big trend happening in 2015, and obviously it's going to go on through 2016, which is what's called the omnidirectional channel issue. Which is, a couple of years ago, you could have one guy doing social media, the community manager guy, and he would be running Twitter and Facebook and a bunch of other things. Now it's becoming...
This is the way how all companies are starting to introduce social media in the companies. Yep. Contacting only one person for support or generate content for Twitter, Facebook, maybe some kind of YouTube, Instagram, but at this moment a lot of companies need more power and more hands for...
Well, I think the shift can be appreciated on the change of the definition. So like 3 years ago, you would hear everywhere that they were looking for community managers.
Yes.
So someone to manage a community. to engage with potential customers, with active customers, fan base, etc. Now the word is not community manager, is content marketing specialist or content strategist, which means there's not that much about community engagement, which also, it's also part of the equation, but actually about how do you strategize, what kind of content do you put out there, which channels do you use. So the equation is becoming more and more complex as we go on, as we have more channels, as people are getting used to consume different kinds of content. Now just imagine that we are starting to see the coming of age of the virtual reality space, and that's just gonna make the content space explode in the next probably in the next decade. So that's definitely an issue that's happening, I think, with the space, and we're going to see it to become more and more complex within the next years.
And what is the opportunity for a lot of brands or companies to manage or take the control of this big number of networks, platforms, without new technology, new platform for measure, control, pivot the content?
Well, I think there's like two sides to this. First one is that we've reached a point where it's becoming extremely hard and time consuming to grow an audience. And if you take into account that now we're talking about like at least 10 different channels, it means creating 10 different audiences. It's not like you can create an audience somewhere and then bring it somewhere else. It's creating 10 different audiences. 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was literally no one doing this, which meant that you could grow the audience organically very easily. And it actually spending money on to do that it didn't make any sense. Now we've reached the point where it's actually better to pay to build an audience than actually grow it organically. It's too slow to grow it organically, and to be honest, the amount of money that you're going to spend growing it by means of paying for it, it's just like ridiculous. We were just talking about this recently, that for me, my hour is very expensive for the things we do in the company, which means that if I stop devoting the time I'm devoting right now to building our audiences, and we started engaging on some paying gigs with that, I think we would probably get a much better trade-off right now. And now the other question with that is that or more importantly, if you start paying to do that, then it becomes increasingly necessary for you to have metrics and data to be able to run the show.
Yes, so at this moment the problem not is only who is generating most or more content or the best content, is who is or what is the company that is generating or paying more for generate audience. Okay. So what is the critical break between the best content, the most content, or the company that is paying for generate audience? Well, it's a mix. It's a hard mix for this moment.
It is a hard mix, and there's I think there's a trade-off here. If you accelerate too much or too fast by means of paying to grow your audience, but your content is not there, then you're doing what most brands used to do before, which is dumb and stupid advertising. Now, we've entered the age of smart content, on entertaining content, on content that people want to see and want to watch and want to enjoy and want to engage with, which means that it's not just the fact that you have to pay. Paying gives you access to distribution.
Yeah.
But you still need to generate good content.
Yes, but this is an actual problem for a lot of YouTubers. For example, a lot of brands is trying to work with YouTubers, and the problem for the YouTuber is manage the community when the brand is in the show. Okay, if you put at this moment, for example, one brand here, a lot of users can say, oh, this is one brand, the episode, this is not genuine, this is not the best of your content, you are selling your soul to a brand, and the engage, and the numbers of the engage is dropping very quickly when one YouTuber or some content generation is putting content branded content in the blog, for example, in YouTube, in a video, etc. What is the opportunity between the content marketer and journalist? A lot of people is saying it's not the same. You can be a company that generates a lot of content, but not a journalist. What is the opportunity for this new fight between I'm journalist or I'm content marketer?
That's a good point. I think we're seeing a lot of journalists, and I think we repeated this at some episodes. We're seeing a lot of journalists flocking towards the corporate world, escaping or running away from the typical newsrooms, the old school newsrooms where they're downsizing the newsrooms, or even they don't require as many people as they used to require. So most of those guys are joining the ranks of the corporate world and joining the content marketing departments. Now, it is true that I think it's critical to understand that if you are a journalist and you reach a content marketing department, you need to understand that this is not about news. Creating content doesn't necessarily mean news, and actually in some cases could actually be counterproductive to do that. Obviously, if you want to do news, you need to have a newsroom. You need to have a place where you can have reporters out there and be the best at what you're doing. Corporate world is definitely not for that. And it's definitely more about researching good stories. I think a very good example of this is the guys from Radio Lab, the podcast. They were recently saying in one of their episodes how long it takes them to get some of the stories on the air. And some stories have been in the making for the last 3-4 years. And that's expensive, that's cost effective, and that's not really news per se.
Yes, but it's actually a real change between content marketing and journalism, some for the actual events and the rest for the position between the brand, the audience, and what the people is reading. And seeing the change between this moment, between the paradigm for content marketing, journalists, big data, pay content, promoted content. What is your wish box? What is your advice for a company that is trying to focus in grow a community quickly, generate a lot of engagement, or contract some new members of a marketing team?
Well,
what is your perfect team at this moment with technology, platforms, and people?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I would say that coming into this 2016 and for the next year and the next year after this one, I would say that the ideal mix for a company would be to understand that outsourcing this kind of stuff, especially if you're a big brand, doesn't work. Most of the agencies are not going to be able, except in very rare cases, are not going to be able to truly deliver what your company needs. And this is the reason why companies like Chase, companies like Marriott are building their own teams, are building their own studios. So there needs to be an in-house effort to build this department. It's a department that eventually is going to merge into marketing, and on the long run it's going to be one of those departments that basically works with absolutely every division within the company. And within that group of people, I would say that you need journalists, you need anthropologists, you need people that know about storytelling, people that know about how to do movies, people that know how to do psychology and engage communities and engage people. And I would say that more importantly, and I think this is the part where a lot of people kind of detach this from the content marketing strategy, is you need data people, you need developers, you need people, data scientists. Because in the end, a lot of the big stories that are out there require research and require data and require the mix between data and data analytics, data analysis, data science, prediction models, etc. Not only that, but these departments actually need to build tools to be able to compete with the first league guys. If you don't have tools, in 2016 you're going to have a really hard time. And probably in 2017 or 18, if you don't have your own tools, not just using someone and third-party tools, but actually if you don't develop your own tools, you're going to get into trouble.
Okay, so for this year, if the company is not a big company that can contract 10 people for new department, merging marketing and content marketing and journalists in the same department, and if the manager need to select, okay, 10 people and not technology, or 5 person, one data scientist, one anthropological, one developer, and another profile, and aggregate at this the technology, what is your perfect mix? Thinking not only in the big companies, because we have middle companies that need to do a mix and a little version of these big departments, because not all the companies is General Electrics.
Well, I would say that a 3-4 people team would make sense. So I would get someone that's a good data journalist, so someone that knows how to do numbers. I would get a developer / data scientist, so someone that
can be a perfect
can
mix.
develop and knows about data, that can actually aid or collaborate with the data journalist. Then I would get someone that knows video, and then I would get someone that's a showman.
The man who put the face in front of the audience.
Someone that has a storytelling background, someone that has very good a smell of what a good story looks like. So they can say, okay, here, and both employing the data, employing their intuition, and the information from the data journalists basically come together with powerful stories that can engage people.
Okay. This is our advice for this year. No, it's a lot of content departments is changing in a lot of companies, and I think that this advice is a huge advice for a lot of managers at this moment, saying, okay, what I can do, how many people I need to contract.
I think the final message here is that if you really want to do this the right way, if you really want to get ahead of the pack, if you're having issues with your competition because they're kicking the crap out of you, then you need to make a serious investment in this. And the minimum amount of investment is at least a 3-4 team, people team. You need a lot of expertise.
And a good technology.
And obviously good technology, obviously.
Okay, if you like to do something important this year.
This is becoming something that you cannot ignore anymore. I mean, you could ignore communications 10 years ago. I mean, some people would definitely.
A lot of companies is ignoring at this moment.
A lot of people still ignore it, but there's probably people in the audience that will go like, yeah, everyone knows that. The truth is that very few companies really put their money where their mouth is. But now it's not an option anymore.
Or you are out of the market.
Exactly, or you're literally out of the market.
Okay, so for closing this episode, we are trying to condense the episode for be more short, okay? How do you think, talking a little about the omnichannel, the problem at this moment, don't have any technology at this moment or extensive technology for manage this peculiar of these consequences from video marketing or a lot of content marketing. But the people is waiting a reply, a comment, or some little kind of gratitude with the creator of the content, the brand, etc. So what is the opportunity? How do you think that can be the perfect match or the perfect replay or the perfect way for manage this big problem?
I think it's very hard because it's a problem that changes depending on how big your audience is. If you have a small audience and you can keep it very personal, you can always be involved in the comments, you can reply to every single one of them. I think we've talked about this before, is one of the major failures of understanding for most of the brands and most of the companies out there is that they don't recognize that we've entered the age of conversation. Which means that even if I create content, someone's going to reply to me and I need to continue that conversation. It's not a one-way street where I just dump my content and I'm done. Basically, I really need people to hear my voice, but then answer them and interact with them. Now, if your audience is a 3 million follower audience, you have a problem.
You have you see the video about the total notification for a big account in Instagram with thousands of comments or likes at the same time. It's a crazy feed.
Exactly. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, where you're getting hundreds of answers, hundreds of comments in 1 minute, it's just like impossible that one person can tackle that, which basically takes us back to the world of data and the world of technology. You need technology-enabled tools to be able to cope with that. There's no way we can keep up with the speed at which we're doing it. And eventually, and we've said this before, eventually we will start getting AIs that are capable of doing that.
I hope. Well, we have a lot of work, and the AI is not...
Skynet answering your comments and retweeting your stuff.
Maybe. And we don't know.
I don't know what's going to happen with that, but let's hope it's rosy. It's not scary.
Let me dream. So for close this episode of the Data Story Show, we'll follow the usual advice or for recommendation for books, TV series. What is your recommendation for this episode?
Well, I'm going to recommend 2 articles that I think are fantastic. They're both related. One is a very nice article in Priceonomics about one of the pioneer of the science behind visualization, Mr. Cleveland. And he has a couple of seminal papers that have basically shifted or structured the way we do visualization, and from a scientific point of view. He's a big detractor of pie charts, for example, and he demonstrated through a series of experiments why they don't work, what are the best ways of visualizing information so that it resembles the way our brains actually process and understand the differences and the magnitudes and what the kind of questions we want to answer with a visualization. Linked to that article, there's another one which I think is from 2011, but still very relevant, which gives you 7 articles that you shouldn't tell people in the visualization world that you haven't read.
Okay.
And one of them is Cleveland's article, but there's like 6 more that are extremely interesting from the science point of view of why do visualizing data and information make sense, and how our brain relates and works towards that goal.
Okay, very interesting. We are going to put in the description the links for you if you like to read the articles or buy the book that I'm going to propose in this episode. It's a book from Richard Branson. Richard Branson is Sir Richard Branson is the CEO, manager, creator from a lot of companies like Virgin Galactic. Maybe in a future we can fly to Mars, for example, with Virgin Galactic.
Why, you don't have your spot already?
No. I'm in the queue. I'm in the queue for pay. Yes. No, but this book is about the history of how Richard Branson is generating a lot of companies, what is the philosophy behind this celebrity, because it's at the same time a businessman and a celebrity. And the book is called Losing the Virginity. Okay, how make business and fun. And it's a good book because it's the real history of entrepreneur that start with one idea, it's a Virgin Records, and finally construct a lot of big companies and buy his own island. So it's a good. It's
definitely a character.
Yes, it's a good reference. Okay, so we are going to finish here the Data Story Show. Thank you very much again for seeing us. And if you have any comment, we like to say thank you again to
our sponsors,
Las Naves, to Carlos,
for allowing us to do the show here.
Thank you, Carlos.
Let us kind of move the couch around.
Yes, we stole, but
we literally stole the couch that we need to get back at some point.
Yeah.
So Carlos, thank you very much, man, and all of you guys looking and watching the episode, thank you very much for watching it. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the episode.
Subscribe here, or here.
Give us thoughts on what else would you like us to comment, or specific questions that you have that you would like us to comment on future shows. Well, Alex, it's been a pleasure as always. Guys, a pleasure. See you in the next episode.
See you. Bye.